How's it going, everyone? Runt9 here, and welcome back to another episode of Runt9 Plays City Skylines. This is episode number 6 in our city of Pyradian. And after Saturday's monumental episode, I have a few things to clean up, because as it turns out, things like this totally not going to work because people can't get where they need to go. I mean, they can, it just would take them a moment or two. Uh, I think that this is probably going to be mostly kind of fixing up the ring road, adding in some more stuff, and trying to deal with demand. So it may not be the most exciting episode in the world, but hopefully we can get things set up where we can start building out on this island, our tourist destination, like we had been talking about before. So let's just go ahead and dive in and see what we can do. So first things first, these just flat out are not going to work. We're going to instead bring these down under the service road to about here, and then try to bring them back up to ground level. I do not like that my dishwasher is going off. I need just one moment. I unfortunately haven't necessarily had time to edit videos, so I've been throwing things up as they get finished, and that means that I don't want that beeping because then I'll have to manage that issue in a minute. So what I'm doing here is basically just making it to where, oh, of course there's a pole there. Oh no, we need to extend it one more click, it looks like. Yeah, okay, now it should work. So I need to explain why this was necessary. So basically what happens here, and obviously this needs to be reversed. And tunnel, reverse that, reverse that. So the problem from before is, for example, this road coming up here. What happens if this highway wants to go counterclockwise on the ring road? Well, they'd have to go all the way around to here, and that just seems incredibly counterproductive. So what I'm doing is I'm making it to where these guys, these roads dump out here. And of course there's rocks on the road because that's just the way that life goes. No, I definitely do not want to select everything. I want to just select props and get the rocks off my road. I'm sure I need to delete a lot more than that, like, you know, this one over here as well. But details. So this way, they dump out here, and I believe that is automatically making it a left or right turn only. That way, they can go either direction they need. If they need to get into the city, they can, which was another problem here, is because this is a one-way road. If they needed to come off the highway and then come into the city, they couldn't, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of this highway bypass. Is you could go under the city and then immediately have to come all the way back around, and it makes no sense whatsoever. So we're going to do the same thing up here, and basically this just gives them the flexibility to go whichever direction they need to go after they get off of this underground highway. We're going to go tunnel mode here, bring it out to about right there, and do the same thing over here. Bring it out to about right there. Now we'll need to curve this around in order for it to work properly. So let's do this one first. We'll kind of curve it like so, bring it up above the ground, turn off tunnel mode, and then make it curve back into the service road, and then we'll do the same thing here. So it certainly looks ugly, but I don't necessarily mind that too much. And what this really does is means that this underground highway becomes much more useful. Oh, that looks absolutely awful. We're going to grab that node and move it. Probably need to go underground here so we can fix that. And I guess we'll want to take this node and drop it down as well. Much better. We'll probably would want to pull that back a little bit too, but you know what? This is perfectly fine. So this is also something I wanted to avoid, and you saw on the other one it didn't look like this was a problem. Obviously that goes straight through, and we'll go ahead and make sure that this does exactly the same thing. Cannot go straight there, that's perfect. I think I'm okay with that. Again, I know that looks pretty ugly, but we'll kind of just deal with it. Now, one thing I thought about and then decided against was the fact that, let's say you're on the ring road and you need to go this way out of the city on this highway. Well, right now you'd have to take this exit, get on the service road, loop under the highway, come over here, and then back on this ramp. So I thought it may be a good idea to go ahead and turn this into a full T interchange. But then I realized that this is meant to be an extension of the ring road. And I'm actually okay with the fact that the service road needs to be utilized because it will keep some of the traffic from dealing with some difficult merge issues on the highways. So I'm actually perfectly okay with the way that works. Now, one important thing we do need to do is put more exits so that people can get off the ring road into the city. And I think that we want to go ahead and do that at the perpendicular angles, like up here. Let's turn off traffic flow and bring this here. So we're just going to go right through there, right under the highway, and off over there. We'll obviously want to not have street lights or stoplights on, and then we'll want to do some on and off ramps. And again, I'm just doing basic diamond interchanges here, nothing too crazy or freaky. And then we'll go from here up onto the highway. And then we'll do the same thing over here, down onto service road, and from the service road up onto the highway. Then obviously we need to upgrade 3-lane here and here for people merging on, and 3-lane here and here for people getting off the highway, and same thing here, 3, 3, 3, and 3, and then do our TPME. Again, I do believe that this is done automatically. I kind of do this for my own peace of mind, just to make sure that merging goes the way that it's supposed to. And this ensures clean merges on and off the highway. And now we've got another highway exit with a road feeding into the city that people can use. And then we'll do the same thing over here. And now we may also want to do an underground highway going the other direction and then provide maybe a little interchange underground. This is something that we would probably have a big stack interchange over the city if we were doing it the correct way, which would have been to actually not build a park in the exact center of the city and actually bring our highway through. But, you know, don't get caught up in the details. The details will always ruin you. I'm actually going to delete the highway here and rebuild it after we bring this through, because I would prefer to not have to deal with curving this one around. Even though I know we already did it on the other one, it would be my preference not to go that route. So this is where we're going to need to bring this about right there and then cut it in that way. and then grab move it to kind of straighten that out a bit. Now again, I could use move it to kind of mess with this and make it not have such a large gap here, but I think we'll probably find something interesting that we can put down on these little side streets here. And they'll definitely be filled in with commercial blocks and things like that, just because that's the way that it is in real life. But I do think that it does look a little funky. And I can't deny that. So this one is going to be a little harder because of how close it is to the service road, and the slope is going to be too steep. I don't want it to be too far. Oh, while I'm thinking about it, speaking of the lane upgrades, let's grab our 3-lane one-way and do this. That's going to be fine there. And then we'll do the same thing down here. Bring this to 3-lane. That to 3-lane. That not to 3-lane. That was a mistake. Where is my 2-lane one-way? Upgrade that back. And so we've got a turn lane for the on-ramp there. This being a 3-lane onto a 2-lane tells me that, for one, this needs to merge properly. And same thing down here, we need to merge properly. I realize this isn't the most exciting thing in the world to watch, but I also believe that this gives you a good understanding of how I like to build my cities. This did create a traffic light. We're going to immediately turn that off and just manage this traffic through a nice junction here. I think that what we want is for this to turn only, this to turn only, this to go straight or turn into that lane, this to go straight or turn into that lane. This can go to either lane, and this will probably be a bit of a cluster, and we may want to turn this into 3-lane. And I see the rocks on the road, but I'm going to ignore them for now because I am about ready to delete all of the rocks on the map. But this ensures that we have adequate merging capabilities, and this is probably overboard for right now. We could go back and do this once we actually have the traffic problems. If you're a programmer, you've probably heard the phrase premature optimization is the root of all evil. And that's basically what I'm doing here, is I'm prematurely optimizing my roads, which is not a good thing in the slightest. That is a fairly steep slope, but the service road is up on a hill, so I don't hate that too much. And I'm going to do each of these at a time. Nope, not 4-lane, 3-lane. And then that's going to upgrade this one into a 3-lane there. Then we're going to upgrade this into a 3-lane here, leading up back onto the highway from this point. Not sure how this one's going to work because of the massive height difference. So I think this is actually going to need to curve around and come up and over the service road like so. Let's see if we can get the pillars to work with us here. Slope too steep, space already occupied. It doesn't look like we're going to get lucky with the pillars here. Unfortunately, we need to come up even higher. So I'm going to undo that and try to figure out what the best course of action is going to be here, because I think this needs to go up to about 30. So we'll just bring this up and try to bring it around like so. Not quite like that. I would prefer that the space not already be occupied. Can you help me with that, game? Game, please. Game, please. Connect. Why must you forsake me? Can I do a straight road there? Okay, you know what? That's good, and then we can use move it to fix this. And bring this about right there, bring this node back a little bit. And that still isn't over the road. We actually need to bring this up a little bit to smooth this out. Okay. That is ugly and terrible, and I hate it, but that's what I get for building the highway the way that I did. It is really high in the air over here. This bump is kind of interesting, but, you know, details. Always with the details. Do our upgrade here. We'll handle our merge here. And zoom in so that I can actually click on things. Otherwise, it would be impossible to click. So like I said, this episode is really just about us cleaning up our mess from the last episode, because I tried to rush building things a bit, and I say rush a little bit tongue-in-cheek, considering it literally took over an hour for that video, but that's a smooth enough slope. I'm fine with that. I definitely did go a little too quickly on building things out. And so I'm kind of paying the price by having to make up for it here. Which is perfectly fine, to be completely honest. I don't see too much of a problem with that. That is another long on-ramp, but that's perfectly fine. That slope is smooth enough for my liking. Upgrade, upgrade, and then do our merge here. And this way, there are 4 exits off the highway. Off the ring road, I should say, specifically. And then we can go in and fill out all of this service road stuff with commercial buildings. And that will actually help alleviate, and actually we'll probably put some offices in here as well. I don't necessarily know if I want them to grow big. So we may want to paint this outer ring with a high-rise band district. I think that's what I'm going to do right now that I think about it. This way, anything that gets built along this outer ring, I'll just do it this way and then snake it back around properly. Any office buildings or commercial buildings that get built along this outer ring are forced to not be high rises, because it would really mess with the skyline of the city. But I want to be able to build offices for people inside the city to work just outside the city and give it a bit more of that exiting the highway suburban feel that I'm used to seeing in my part of the world. We're going to immediately do high-rise ban. And is there anything else? Probably not. I wouldn't say so. And then let's just fill this in with high-density commercial and office zoning. Probably low-density commercial and offices is what we're going to do. Is there anything that we don't want to zone if I try to do a marquee tool over the whole area? I do want all of that zoned. Are we missing any zoning inside the city? Quite possibly. So this could be a very bad idea, but I'm going to just marquee tool all of it in low density commercial. And yeah, there's definitely some pockets that got filled in that I didn't want. So we'll just go in and clean those up real quick. Shouldn't take but just a moment. I do like being lazy and using the marquee tool, but in the end, sometimes laziness doesn't pay off. I may not get everything right, but I'm not too terribly concerned about it. Now, realistically, this zoning I need to just go in and fix properly. But again, there's a little bit of the laziness kicking in and a little bit of I want to actually do something that you folks will find entertaining rather than sitting here and do some of this more simplistic stuff. So for this, I'm going to just go through and mix in some offices along these sections so that we've got some offices right near our residential space for people to come down here and work. And realistically, some of these people could even walk along these roads to get to their offices. I think this will be good for our industrial demand, and we basically will never have commercial demand again with all this commercial space being available. Which is good and bad in the sense that we can't carefully control our commercial growth anymore. But I also like the feeling that this is going to give us by having things like convenience stores and small grocery stores and things like that that you would normally see on the side of a service road. You know, you've got your truck stops and your Denny's and all those sorts of things. Waffle House, so on and so forth. Get you to, you little bugger. And by having these right off of the service road and right off of the main entrance into the city, it'll be easily accessible by residents. Now, one thing we could also do that I thought about because we have the space to do it, and this could be really cool, is this space right here that goes around this loop, we could bring either a monorail or a train through this section, hook it back up to this on the other side, or if it's a monorail, drop people off here and maybe run some bus lines from the monorail stop into this inner ring here. I think it's an interesting thought, but at least for the moment, I don't think there's anything else I absolutely need to take care of, so I'm going to start the game running again. I expect to see some of those offices start building in. We do need to water things real quick, though. So we're going to need to run this right along. Come on now. Mouse was freaking out for a moment there. Just to make sure that anything that builds along here will always have water. Insert my usual Nestle joke here that I always use about how for some reason the Nestle CEO thinks that water is not a basic human right. I make sure to say it fairly often because I think it's one of the more egregious things I've seen a company say and do. Okay, and then we need to just come back in here and fill in this one. That should be good. So you can see that we've already got some smaller offices popping up here, and people will like that that's an option. I did notice that there is some buggy bus issues happening up here. We may want to take a look at this line and provide more buses. I think I'll pop this up to 15 buses. That should be more than enough to handle this coverage. But that stop is bugging out, unfortunately. One thing we haven't looked at is, oh, wow, look at that metro. 1,000 passengers on that line. and there's not a lot of people waiting at stops. Like, all 9 vehicles are pretty much consistently filled to the brim. And we'll want to take a look at our ring road and see how much it's actually being used. Doesn't look like there's too many people utilizing it right now. But here and there, as our city gets bigger and the demand increases for things like tourism. Oh, cool. We hit 18,000, got our 3rd loan and the solar power plant. Neither of which is particularly necessary right now. One thing of note, as you already noticed, is Watch It was causing problems. I've had so many mod issues with this series, but I switched back to City Vitals Watch instead of Watch It, and it seems to be fine now, but we'll see if I can switch back in the future. So we fixed up our ring road, and now it's really just a matter of, do we want to build something in along this inner part of the ring road, such as train or monorail or something like that? We definitely have people coming into the city here. There are definitely people using that tunnel. I don't actually like that that's a 90-degree turn. We may even want a separate turn lane there at some point, but something to keep an eye out for. It looks like we're having some buggy buses here, unfortunately. Yeah, this is kind of a mess. Really all because of these buses up here. You've got a lot of people trying to turn around in this industry section. I'm not quite ready to deal with this yet because it's going to mean messing with the bus lines a bit. But I think one thing we can do, because this is such a popular stop, is move it down a little ways, which we've done a few times in the past. If I move it down here, that should at least free up some of the traffic problems, because people should try to go around the buses now. Yeah, that seems to have cleaned things up a good bit over there. So I think I'm going to stop this episode here. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys would like to see on this little extra space we have between the service road and the highway. Do you think that we should go through and build out a commuter rail through the train setup? We could tie that into the exterior line if we wanted to. Or should we go through and do a monorail and connect that in to maybe the metro stations here, which could be pretty easy to do. Have like a little pedestrian walkway that goes from the monorail stop under the highway over to the metro station. We could have monorail stops around here and run buses down this little corridor to get people back and forth. Commuter train would hold more people. Monorail would be a little bit faster. You can definitely see the offices came in really quickly. So we may even want to build some more offices out along these service roads. But I do think I'm going to cut the episode off here. Again, the last one was over an hour and 15 minutes. So I don't want to let this one drag on too long, give you all a little bit more of a bite-sized chunk. But I'm really liking how this city is turning out. I really like how this ring road came out. Again, there's not a ton of people on it yet, but there are definitely people taking these exits to come into the city, and I can definitely tell that this intersection is going to become a problem for us in the future, as are these two intersections here. But thus far, we're still handling the traffic just fine. I feel like that when the time comes, a little TPME magic, we'll be able to handle that just fine. Like we've got some more bus backups happening here. So anyways, really bad at ending episodes because I keep finding things that I want to talk about. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit me with a like or a comment. It helps out a lot. Also, subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Check out the community Discord to connect with me directly. And if you're interested in donating to my channel, there's a Patreon link in the description. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you on the next one.